Hi, I'm Dr. Vili Abraham, and thank you for joining me. The topic of our today's lesson is reading strategies. In particular, I will be giving you strategies or tips for coping with long academic articles. So let's talk about how to approach different reading material. So basically, the way we read something really depends on the purpose for reading. So we read different texts in different ways. So the way you would read a newspaper would be different than how you would read a novel or a book and how you would read an academic article. So when you read a newspaper, you pick up the newspaper, you look through the headlines, and if you find a particular headline interesting, then you start reading it. And if you, after reading the first paragraph, you still find it interesting, you continue reading until eventually you finish reading the article. And if it's not interesting, you just flip the page and you look at the next headline, hoping that it will be more interesting. So you really skip headlines and you skip information and you just read whatever it is that is more interesting. With books, it's a very different story. After bringing a book home, you read every single word on every single page. The reason is because the author uses words in order to help us visualize the characters, the settings, what they're doing, where they are. So skipping a word or sentences would just not serve the purpose of helping us visualize whatever it is the author wants to project. However, with academic material, it's a very different story. When you read an academic article, you do it with a particular purpose in mind. And that is why sometimes you use or you read the article as if it's a newspaper, meaning you flip through pages or you skip you skip paragraphs or sentences because they're not relevant to answer a particular question. And sometimes you would read it as if it were a book because you have to read every single word because you are reading a paragraph or a section which is relevant to answering a particular question. We'll go back to this in a few minutes. So, how do you read academic articles? Well, the approach is the following. First, you pre read. After pre reading and getting a general idea about the text, then you go and answer comprehension questions, whether it's for a homework assignment or an unseen. So, let's start with pre reading. So, what is pre reading? So, first of all, although there's no general rule as to how much time you should be spending on your pre reading, but in my 16-year experience teaching English as a foreign language or English for academic purposes, I usually suggest 15 minutes. And this should be just enough to help you get a general idea about the text you're about to read. So you start off by reading the title carefully. And when I say carefully, I mean double check words that you may not be sure as to their precise meaning. So use the dictionary. Okay, if you misunderstand the title, you are most likely to misunderstand the general idea about the text. After reading the title, you should read the abstract. If you're dealing with a research article, it is most likely to have an abstract. We will dedicate a whole lesson to the structure of a research article, but in general, an abstract is a summary of a whole research project. So usually it presents the purpose of the study and how data was collected, i.e., the methodology, the main findings and conclusions. If you read the abstract, this should be enough to give you a general idea about the text. However, if you still have time left over, then it would also be a good idea to read section headings. And if you still have enough time, then you should also look at graphs and charts, which usually summarize important pieces of information. After getting a general idea about the text or pre-reading, you can go to the questions. So you start off by reading the question carefully, translating words which you may not be 100% sure as to their meaning, and then you underline a keyword in the question. Now, why do we underline a keyword in the question? Well, we do it because a keyword is a word that would help us focus on a particular section, area, or paragraph where the answer might be located. So a keyword is usually a noun, and it's the name of a person, a place, terms and concepts that may may be used in different fields of psychology. So, for example, in psychology, if you're reading an article about psychology or related to psychology, then one keyword could be positive reinforcement. Or if you're reading an article related to mechanical engineering, you might be encountering a sentence that is asking you something about the differences between diesel engines and electric engines. Okay? So a keyword is the name of a place, person, key terms and concepts, and also words and quotation marks. And we shouldn't be forgetting also dates. Okay, if you have years or months mentioned in a question, then you should take it as a keyword. Once you find, okay, so after underline a keyword, you go to the text and you skim for the selected keyword. Okay, I will show you how to do this in a second. After finding the keyword, you scan for the answer. So you switch from skimming to scanning. Skimming means reading quickly, running your eyes over the text, just looking for the keyword. So if the keyword is positive reinforcement, you just run your eyes over the text looking for the term positive reinforcement. Once you find the term, you start scanning. Scanning means reading slowly and carefully. So you would read every sentence, every word around the key word in order to understand the answer. So this is essentially moving from skimming, which would be like reading a newspaper, skipping headlines, and scanning would be more like reading a book because you're reading every single sentence. After skimming and scanning, you go back to the question and you choose the best answer. If it's a multiple choice question, then you choose what the best answer is, usually from four options. And if it's an open-ended questions, then you would just copy the sentence or the words which answer the question. In some cases, you're asked to use your own words. In that case, you would have to paraphrase. After choosing your answer, you repeat the process with all other questions, meaning you go to the next question, you underline a key word, you skim, scan, choose the best answer, etc. Now, I have an article which I will share a link to it in the description to this video. So, the title of this article is Towards Integrating Production and Consumption to Reduce Consumer Food Waste in Developed Countries. Okay, so I'll take my 15 minutes, right, to pre-read. So I read the title, and then if I scroll down, there's an abstract. So I should also read the abstract. And if I still have time, I would look at section headings. So one of them, or the first one, is introduction, typical of research articles. And the second one is entitled Causes and Solutions to CFW, which stands for Consumer Food Waste. Okay, and I just proceed looking at illustrations. For example, here I can see how much food is wasted by sector. So manufacturing wastes 1 million tons a year, wholesale less, retail a little bit more, but most consumer food waste comes from households, which waste 7.3 million tons per year. Okay, so you continue and just make the most out of the 15 minutes that you have. Okay? Well, after getting a general idea about the text, you may proceed and answer questions. So I've written 3 questions for this particular text, just for the exercise. So the first question is, according to the text, what is the best way to manage waste? Well, if you remember, after reading the question carefully, we have to line a key word, underline a key word. So what is the key word, or in this case, the keywords? Well, what do we want to read about? We want to read about manage waste or managing waste. And we want to learn about how it is best to do this. So this is my key word. And now I go to the text and I start skimming for the keywords. So if you're on a test, a computerized test, then you can just run a search of the keywords. But if you don't have a computer, because you're not entitled to special conditions on exams, for example, then you have to use your finger. And what you do is you just take your finger or a pen and you just skim, running your eyes over the text, looking for waste management. You see, just running your eyes over the text, and I can see that manage waste appears here for the first time. Okay, so it means that this is the place to read. So from skimming, I move to scanning, which means reading carefully. So I would not continue reading just from where the keywords start, but I would read the whole sentence. Okay, so let's do it. Environmentally and economically, prevention is the best option to manage waste. Okay, so here you go. So it looks like we found the answer. According to the text, what is the best way to manage waste? Well, it's prevention. So I'm going to write it down. The next question is, what three factors associated with consumer food waste, often referred to as CFW in the text, are attributed to the individual? So from the point I left off with the previous question, okay, which is basically here, I continue skimming and looking for the next keyword, which is individual. And why individual? Because we want to read about the individual and see what it is about the individual that causes consumer food waste. Okay, and we're looking for three factors. Okay, so again, I just skim. Sorry, let's go back up here. Starting from this area here. Okay, continuing on to the next paragraph, which is paragraph 3. Right, I'm running my eyes over the text, looking for individual. Okay, continue here. No individual, I don't see it. Okay, continue here on the left side, and bingo, here it is. Okay, so we see it here for the first time, so it means that this is the area where I should start reading from. Okay, I see individual here, and I also see individual here, but I will start from here. Okay. All right, 1 second, let's just mark the correct place. Okay, here it is. So, furthermore, studies within the fields of social science and psychology reveal that CFW, consumer food waste, is influenced by factors related to the individual, society, area, and the retail manufacturing system. Okay, but that's not what I want. We want to know what factors are related to the individual, how the individual contributes to food waste. And if we continue reading, we can see that individual as a key word appears again here for the second time. Okay, and if I look at the beginning of the sentence, which starts, okay, I'm sorry, just for some reason I was taken to the end of the text. So I'll start from here and I'll mark the whole sentence. Okay, so that I know what part of the paragraph to read. So we'll start from here. Factors related to the individual include socio-demographic aspects such as age, gender, and household composition, psychodemographic aspects such as motivation, attitudes, values, and habits, and socioeconomic aspects such as income, level of education, and household storage infrastructure. So we actually found the three factors, right? So it's socio-demographic, it's psychodemographic, and it's socioeconomic. Okay, let's go back to the question. According to the article, what three factors associated with consumer food waste are attributed to the individual? So unless you're required or asked to provide specific examples, I would keep my sentence general. So I would just copy sociodemographic, psychodemographic, and again, socioeconomic. Okay, so let me just go back here. Okay, so we write here socio-demographic. Okay, just let me delete part of the line here. Okay, so that was one, right? And the other one is psychodemographic. Okay, so I'm gonna write it down over here. Okay, um, psychodemographic. Okay, just get rid of the line here, some of it. Okay, and then we go back to the text. And the third one is socioeconomic. So that's what we're going to write, socioeconomic. SEO and again, just for aesthetic purposes, we'll just get rid of my here a little bit, okay, to make it nicer. Okay, and the third question is, according to the article, oversupply, consumerism, and competition on cheap prices lead to. So the key words would be, sorry, or should be oversupply, consumerism, and competition on cheap prices, because we want to know what they cause. Okay, what is the result of these three? So I would take these as my keywords and skim for them. And again, from the point where I left off, sorry, which is right over here. Okay, so I run up my eyes over the text. Okay, looking for the keywords. Okay, they're not here. However, if I continue to the next paragraph, I can see them over here. Oversupply, consumerism, and competition and cheap prices. So again, I would start from the beginning of the sentence to get the context or to understand the context. Okay, so let's read from the beginning. So considering the reviewed models above, it is understood that CFW, consumer food waste, is more than a behavior issue, but rather a symptom of a bigger societal problem shaped by an unsustainable production and consumption system that relies on oversupply, consumerism, and competition on cheap prices. So the question is, according to the article, oversupply, consumerism, and competition at cheap prices lead to, well, what did they lead to? Well, based on the information that we read here, preceding the key words, it looks like the best answer is consumer food waste, meaning that consumer food waste is the result of oversupply, consumerism, and competition at cheap prices. Or looking at it in a different way, oversupply, consumerism, and competition at cheap prices leads to or results in consumer waste. Well, I hope you found this video helpful, and I will see you next time with another lesson on English for academic purposes. My name is Vili Abraham, and if you like this video, please support it by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Thank you.